This week's scenario is close quarters. It consists of 2 flags. The friendly flag can be dominated for 1 CP. The enemy flag can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs. Victory conditions consist of 5 control points or caster assassination.
Evening folks, tonight I'm playing a caster that is not very common in Circle, or at least around here, and I haven't played it very much at all. This is my attempt at a serious list for Cassius the Oathkeeper. Got a Wilder Megalith, a Stalker, a couple of units of stones, max unit of bone grinders, 2 max units of Croak Raiders, Bokor and Shamblers. Those are questionable. I'm not sure I'm going to keep them. Some swamp Gobbers and a couple of Gallows Groves. All the components are fairly self-evident as to what they're there for.
Alright, so this list is Rasheth with 2 Aradus Sentinels for ranged killing and a Bronzeback and Tiberion for melee combat. This list was originally designed to kill Demi-3 and the Double Colossal list. Basically, you can't shoot the Tiberion or either Sentinel off the table, and if they come across and get in melee range, then Tibbers and Tiberion clean them up. So I won the roll and I chose to go first. This list is low model count, so deployment is pretty easy. I've got 2 big melee heavy hitters. They stack up in the middle, and that way they can shift as needed and protect my ranged options. Everything else is advanced deployment for the most part.
My opponent's army has a lot of range damage. Those bugs are really dangerous to my caster and his and the tree, Wurmwood, as they're both living and they get an additional die against them. So even a drift on my caster that catches my caster and the tree is going to double dip damage, and it can be really brutal. So I have to be careful and aware of that. He has a lot of AD, but I outnumber him in the shooting department as far as I have 2 units of Croak Raiders to his 1. His caster's premier AoE spell is Breath of Corruption, which is corrosion damage, which doesn't do anything to these Croak Raiders as they're immune to corruption. It's a strange match here, in my opinion.
So prior to the release of the gun bugs and the Croak Raiders, there wasn't a whole lot of advanced deployment options for Skorne, and now you see them all over the place. The Croak Raiders because they're so good, and the gun bugs need the advanced deployment because that's what makes them viable really with their speed 3. One key to playing Skorne with the Croak Raiders is to always make sure you leave a hole for your Taskmaster to fit and go activate first. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm leaving a hole for him to, I always put a model and then remove it so that I know he has just enough room.
Well, his AD is done. I'm just going to put the tree out here and try to set up. I'm far enough away that he can't get any shots onto me early on without drifting into me. I mean, a drift into my army would be bad, but I can't do much about it. I don't want to spread out onto both sides of these trees. These Croaks don't have Pathfinder. I have no way of giving them Pathfinder, so the trees are going to kind of compress my army. I'm going to spread out the stones so that they're inside each other's triangle, so that if he gets crazy and puts a big pile of Croaks in the middle of the board where I can teleport a stone forward and then teleport that stone forward itself, and then get a Hellmouth off onto the stone and get a bunch of frogs, I want to set up for that. It's not something I want to do, but it's something I'm going to set up to be able to do in case he gives it to me. I don't think he will.
Skorne turn 1. Well, I won the roll and chose to go first, and I felt that was a mistake because my opponent's army will not be in my threat range first turn, whereas my entire army will be in his threat range first turn. He's got a lot of scary shooting with the 2 full units of Croaks. However, moving past that, my goal is to recover. I put tough on the Croaks and then try to position them in places to make them more difficult to kill. You'll see I put a bunch on the hill. I also based the trees because I figured that at least if I can get defense 15, he needs 9s to hit me with the Croaks. Hopefully a decent amount of them will survive. I also was trying to make sure I didn't group up so much that a single Hellmouth would wipe out a significant portion of them. Next, I checked the ranges and I realized that while the front line of his army was not in the range of my Aradus Sentinels, I had a potential to deviate straight forward 1 or 2 inches and get do a significant amount of damage to them. Because 1 AoE from them could wipe out 3 to 4 or a stone, which would be ideal. However, after putting Snipe up twice and Carnivore on the Croaks, when I went to take the shots, I didn't get what I was hoping for. Makes sense, it happens. I also put up Swarm on both of the Sentinels in case he came forward with a teleporting beast or something to give me an extra defensive bonus. One thing that's important in this list is that I have Tiberion and he has the immobile special rule. So by putting him in front of Rasheth, it'll stop me from getting pulled forward due to Hellmouth.
Well, he's spread his Croaks out fairly well. I could probably catch 4 or 5 of them at the most with a Hellmouth stone if I place it exactly properly, but I'm not going to try that. I've got so many Croaks, I'm just going to walk forward and shoot at his Croaks until they're all dead, or at least most of them are dead. I've rolled some pretty low rolls here. I need 7s to hit them for the most part. A couple of them are, two of them are in trees, and 2 of them are on the hills, but I can get my guys on the hills too to negate the elevation advantage. And I miss a lot of them. It's not that big a deal. I still have an entire other unit of Croaks to go, plus Cassius and various other things. I would be surprised if he comes out of this with more than 4 or 5 Croaks left alive. And they continue to die. His tough rolls are actually about average, I believe, so I'm not keen on that. I'll make a mistake here. I should move the Gatorman Bokor. I should run him forward to try to capitalize on those 2 on the hill who almost assuredly are going to die this turn, to get some souls and some corpses on the Bokor and souls on the tree. The tree's in the position to only get a couple of souls this turn, I believe, but his turn's probably going to kill a few of my guys. I moved my Gallows Grove up next to that flag. I had decided that I was going to go ahead and feat this turn. It may or may not be a good idea, but I want to limit his shooting from the bugs as much as possible. I would like to ideally get rid of that Raider with by whatever means necessary to take Snipe out of the equation. If I do that, then I can jam up his gun bugs and keep him from murdering me from distance. He's got him on the hill though, and I can't seem to hit him with my Croaks, so it'll have to be another turn, I guess. Now I run the Bokor up. Like I said, I should have ran him up the turn before. I would have gotten a couple of corpses off of those 2 dead guys on the hill. My army has so much infantry, I'm starting to get afraid of the clock. There's just a tremendous amount of die rolling with the drifts and from the oil, and then the fire, and then the tough rolls on his part, and just everything going on. I know that I could shift the clock over, or could shift the clock over if opponent's going to be making tough rolls, but it's just still time. Move the Bone Grinders up into a position where they can shoot something next turn. I'm probably just going to use them mainly to shoot NS corpses if he doesn't give me any. I don't want to kill any of them if I don't have to, though. I put the Cloud up. I didn't need to. I probably should have ran with these little guys and tried to get them to a good spot, because, like I said, I am going to feat this turn. It's already pretty much a given. I don't want to lose that Gallows Groves, and I will if I just leave it there, plus all the frogs that are around it. That his gun bugs are salivating at being able to shoot a defense 5 tree with 4 models, or maybe with 3, for sure 3 models in the AoE, up to 5 possibly. So here we go. Cassius charges and then does his unseen path, and then twice, and to get the tree into a good position. And I try to cover almost all of my army, and I get everything in my army except one frog. The little frog that's on the very bottom of the screen didn't get into the forest. He doesn't have any extollers over there, so he can't get eyeless sight, so he's not going to be able to see too much over there. His Raider can sacrifice his movement to gain to see through stealth, but it doesn't give him eyeless sight. I think I'm in a good position here for next turn. I'm going to play an attrition game, or at least that's my plan. I often get distracted and try to go kill a caster when I get board or the clock starts running down, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to pass the clock over.
All right, Skorne, turn 2. That was painful. My opponent suffered some bad dice rolls, but I was pretty unhappy. I lost pretty much all my Croak Raiders for almost nothing, and now I'm faced with his entire army that I can't touch. Not only that, but the unit leader died to fire, so I had to promote somewhere and guarantee that half my Croaks couldn't attack, or 3 out of 4 Croaks could not attack this turn. Not a great position to start in. And since I don't have an Extoller in this list, I wasn't able to ignore the trees. So, what do I decide to do? I know that him casting Hellmouth is a big problem for me, so I want to limit that option. My main goal this turn was to, if I could, kill the stones so he couldn't teleport around, and kill the trees so that he couldn't Hellmouth my stuff all over the place. I do at least have Tibbers, so since Tibbers can't be moved, I was considering, just basing him with Rasheth so that he couldn't pull me anywhere. But I need him to kind of be able to do work. But my plan, as I mentioned, is to take out his arc nodes and take out his stones if possible. However, that feat is causing some pretty massive problems for me. My opponent was nice enough that he measured out his control area so he knew where the trees were, so he didn't have to ask constantly. I make 1 fire roll on the tree, or, fire dart attack on the tree to light it on fire and do almost nothing. But I get, something. More importantly, it's on fire and maybe it'll burn to death next turn. I've already checked. I won't have line of sight if the Cyclops Raider goes after the trees on the right. Because they have stealth, I can't just shoot them from where I am because it's more than 3 inches in the trees. If I get close enough to see it, if I move at all, then I won't be able to shoot stealth. I have problems. I don't know what to do yet. So I'm like, all right. I'm, still just trying to whittle down the tree. But I forgot it had Prowl. Missing glorious shots. But I get to arc fire, deviations on living Croaks is always a good thing when you're poisoned, and that helps a little bit. All I'm really doing though is fueling his fury for next turn and fueling the Gatorman Bokor, who at least with is living. So when I roll 4 dice on him, I do a decent amount of damage and remove almost all of his current Croak army. From there, I basically just have to move up and accept my fate of getting punched in the face again. As glorious as that sounds. So I toughed the Croaks. I moved them so that the ones who were out of command range got back in. And here I am trying to, get close enough to see the tree. And then I remembered it was stealth, so that was pointless. Then I moved Tibbers up. Try to the front of the tree edge. Take another lob shot at the one Croak Raider who's not in the trees. There's literally one on the entire table. So I fire over there and hope for a lucky deviation, which I don't get, of course. But who needs? Who needs such things? I do make my own tough roll, which is always a plus. After that, my goal is, I considered feeding this turn just so that next turn Fort wouldn't be able to just push me, take my guys completely off the table. But I wasn't sure I needed to, because I just wasn't sure it was a good idea, is what it amounts to. I go and try to finish killing off the Bokor with him having 6-7 health and one little guy, but I am unable to kill him, which was pretty depressing, because I was really trying to eliminate some of his recursion and some of the resource double dipping he's doing in this list with bodies and souls. The same way I used to play Zol. Then I throw Beast Handlers all the way up front because they have reach and can engage a bunch of his stuff before it's able to shoot me.
Well, my opponent made a pretty sneaky and clever little move with the Feralgeist to put another hit on the the Bokor. He was shooting at one of the stealth trees with a bug, and the AoE drifted and clipped the Bokor. boosted damage on the Bokor and did enough damage that I ended up sacrificing a bunch of the little swamp Gobber Shambler things. I was planning on hoping to get rid of some of those anyway because they were in my way. He just helped me clear them out of the way. All they're in this list against him for is to use as targeting beacons for Hellmouths. But I don't want to lose him early. I thought that the Bokor had a magic weapon, so I engaged the Feralgeist to go beat him up, and then realized, wait, he doesn't have a magic weapon. Got that going for me. I'm loaded up on souls. I have 5 souls. I only got 2 corpses, however, out of all of that because of my poor planning last turn. I shouldn't have moved the Gobbers yet. I should have moved them a little later. But Megalith is going to go up and drop a Curse of Shadows onto the Bronzeback and then put his Animus up and hope that that is enough to let the Croaks take a big bite out of the Bronzeback. I parked the tree in front of the Bronzeback thinking that I would stop his hyper-aggressive, and just forgot that while the tree can't engage the Bronzeback can engage the tree. So it raises his defense from a 12 to a 16, which means even aiming, my little frogs need 8s to hit him. So it wasn't a good plan. But the first one that I hit him with at dice -5 put a real hurt on him. And then I start missing. I decided I'm just going to go ahead and shoot at him and hit the tree and try to kill the tree and get it out of the damn way. I need the Bronzeback hurt bad. I shoot at one of the gun bugs just to get it on fire, get some oil on it, and hit him and catch him on fire. Don't do any damage through that super armor of his. I think I would have been better off focusing on the Raider with my other unit of Croaks and just aiming and with the front line, move the back line through the front line to close a little bit, and then aim with the back line with fire. The front line would shoot oil, getting close so that the drift won't drift off of him, and then the back line would shoot fire, and whatever guys that didn't have to shoot oil at him that moved would shoot fire at him as well until he dies. That would have been a good plan, but I didn't quite carry it out. I got distracted again trying to set more of his stuff on fire. I set Tiberion on fire. I tried to set the other bug on fire, but with Swarm and being on the hill, it was a little too hard to hit. Now I'm just killing the tree to get it out of the way. It gives me a soul and a corpse, however, so I'm okay with that. Now we're shooting the Bronzeback. If I can get him to hyper-aggressive into Megalith's undergrowth, then he's going to be easier to hit, and he's not going to be able to move as far. That was my plan, at least. So he hyper-aggressive again. I'm trying to control where he's moving by doing these shots in particular orders. And now I forget that he still has a counter charge up. He's moved so much, and he smashes one of my little frogs. But that's okay. He can't counter charge anymore. And he's set up so that I can't get to his back arc either, but that's not a big deal. I wouldn't have gotten to his back arc anyway with what's left. I still have a Stalker and a set of stones that can get to him. I don't really want to put a Stalker out here where those bugs can stand still and shoot him, however. So I need to manipulate some way to get the Stalker into a tree or into a cloud or something. Cassius has fertilizer on his weapon, so I could try to make a tree out of one of his guys, or I could... I don't know, I'll figure out something. Right now I'm working on getting rid of this Raider, and I lose focus again and start shooting at other stuff, trying to kill beast handlers and whatnot, whenever I should have just let the big huge stack of Cassius that Cassius is sitting on. He's sitting on 11 focus. Hellmouth a bunch of that stuff out of the way. I Hellmouth like Tiberion and drag all that stuff right into a big pile, and then it would be really bad for him. I'm making very poor decisions in this game, and it's a lot of it has to do with I'm trying to play the list fast because the clock is going to kill me if I get into a tournament situation and have to do this. This many models in such a complicated mess. And here I make another mistake. I forget that the beast handlers have reach, so I teleport a tree to be able to do a hellmouth deeper into his army. And my opponent corrects me and informs me that that does have reach indeed, and I was so I have to figure out something else. So Cassius boosts a stranglehold into that beast handler, and I forget that he has black roots and that he wouldn't miss. He doesn't pay the shooting into melee penalty, which he would have hit the boosted shot. But I missed the boosted shot, so I drop a Hellmouth into the Bronzeback instead and drag a bunch of the stuff into the Bronzeback. I kill a couple of my guys, kill a couple of his guys, and do a little bit of damage to the Bronzeback. Bronzeback's now sitting on around 7 health. I thought about letting the fire do its work, but it's going to be dice -5 on 3 dice if it doesn't go out, and that's just a little bit dicey. It's probably not going to kill him. I'd have to roll a little bit over average to kill him, and I really need him gone. I don't want to have a Bronzeback sitting on the top of in the middle of my army with beatback and everything else that goes with that. So I'm trying to finagle a way to do it. The only thing that I have that can hurt him really right now left is the Stalker. So the Wilder lightning strikes the Stalker. I decide that I have to give the Stalker a sprint pass, so I've got to kill these guys that are in the way here. So the Stonekeeper hits this guy, kills the 2 that he hit, gives me a couple of corpses. I'm full of stones already. Then we teleport the Stalker into melee with the Bronzeback, and he proceeds to one-shot the Bronzeback. And then he sprints back into the safety. He warped Prowl because there was Curse of Shadows on the Bronzeback, so he was dice -1 on the damage rolls, so he wasn't going to get away from that. And I passed the turn.
Skorne turn 3. The mighty Bronzeback did eventually die, but he took a lot more attacks than he should have. I was able to do hyper-aggressive a number of times and countercharge to keep engaging stuff to up my defense and make it more difficult for him to just take me off the table with Croaks. In the end, he actually had to kill a bunch of his own models to make it worth it, which helps me a lot. Now, his caster is on 2 transfers, and I'm sitting there thinking about trying to go for it. With my feet and Bloodmark, I am able to take him to Def 12, or Armor 12. So if I can land just 2 Croak Raider, 2 Aradus Sentinel shots on him, those 2, it won't kill him, but they'll force transfers and probably take at least one of the beasts off the table. And lower his fury for next turn. So that's the plan. Maybe I can get more out of it. I don't have any threat range increases in terms of movement, so I know Tibbers can't get there. One mistake I made that it didn't really show until now is my placement of the Cyclops Raider. If he was centrally placed like I should have placed him, I would be able to get snipe on both Sentinels with no problems. However, it's a choice I have to make right now between doing Bloodmark and putting snipe on the second Aradus Sentinel. I decided that Bloodmark was a better option, both because I am going to guarantee that I can at least get 1 shot in range, and also it's great for long-term planning, right? I mean, if nothing else, if he hits me and I make a mistake, I can always transfer to his caster at least once, as long as he's in range. Tibbers goes up and cleans some stuff out. I would like to have been able to do more with him this game, or at least keep him nearby to keep me alive, but I wanted to get him up so he was a threat. And they had to either deal with him or kill me. So, after all of that fun, I try to figure out, I'm spending all this time trying to figure out how to get the Cyclops Raider to get snipe on the second Aradus Sentinel. And I'm just trying to activate other things to give myself a chance to figure it out. I do get the first shot on his caster, and at dice +1, rolling 4 dice for damage, I got a total of 8. I was pretty depressed about that. But, you know, what are you going to do? Then there's a great roll next, but it's on a much higher armor thing. It's on the tree, which is at like armor 21 right now. Or 19. But so I finished the shots, but because I boosted on the tree as well, I can't even cast Swarm, which was a mistake, I feel, because I really need Swarm to help keep my stuff alive. And since it debuffs any living model within 2, it will help my caster and all my heavies survive when he teleports his heavies into me. Once I decide that the Cyclops Raider can't get snipe out, I don't fix my problem, which was not the best plan. I take a shot targeting him, and then I realize that I can't hit him unless I roll really, really, really high. So I should have literally just run to the middle, so that A, have another body blocking Rasheth, and B, be in a position to cast snipe next turn. Now, I'm sitting there still just trying to figure out what to do with this other Aradus Sentinel. The Croak Raiders are going to go. Their job was primarily to see if I could luck my way into to getting fire on his caster. That's all they were there. I was going to actually go for the tree, but realized it was stealth, so now I've got to do something with them. It may have been better to go for the Bokor. Just lighting him on fire would be helpful. I took one shot on him, but he's only got one box, and if I could light him on fire, it might help mitigate his ability to bring guys back next turn, or in the future. But I don't. I just go for his caster and see if I'm a little unhappy about the way the game's going, or the way my play has been so far, just because I've given away a Bronzeback and almost all my Croaks, and still not accomplished much. But we'll see how it ends.
And one of the things I was most worried about, the drift hitting the tree and Cassius at the same time, occurred, and it was very painful. Cassius is sitting on 6 or so health right now. What I should have done, and I don't know why I didn't do this, I should engage these gun bugs with 3 or 4 of these undead dudes. Put them on the one in the middle there, put like 2 in the front and 2 in the back of the undead dudes. Spread them out enough that they're engaging him, but that one breath of corruption wouldn't kill them all. Let Megalith charge the other bug, the southernmost bug, and Curse of Shadows him and beat him up a little bit, and then put the Stalker on the same bug, get rid of that bug. Let Cassius stranglehold the Tiberion after putting Curse of Shadows on Tiberion to keep him out of the game, and then engage, like I said, engaging the other bug, so that my opponent has very few options to continue the game. Instead, I get this crazy idea that I'm going to try to do a double Hellmouth drag of Cassius of Rasheth and kill him with a Stalker, and that was just a very poorly thought out. While it's not super low odds, it's not great odds either. I'm going to need a 5 to hit the bug once it gets up on the hill to drag it, and I simply should not have done that. I should have taken the safe method, like I outlined before. Megalith, Curse of Shadows, the bug that's on the bottom there, hits him a little bit to drop his defense even more, hurt him a little bit, and then the Stalker goes in and finishes him off, and then Cassius activates, walks up a little bit with this 11 Fury, and strangleholds Tiberion, so Tiberion can't really contribute, and then just sits on his 5 or 6 Fury, and is essentially invulnerable to death, because both of my beasts are at full health right now. But then again, it was fun to try. It's fun to try to noodle out these assassinations. And if I went the other way, I probably would run out of time just trying to kill all the models and carry out all the complex orders of activation and buying all the attacks on the bugs and planning and plotting about what to do. So I went for the simple assassination victory, and it's going to cost me, I believe. These guys down here moving around to mess with the Raider. I just I should have engaged the Raider as well, keep him from shooting anyone. But I was trying to set fire to his caster, and I do, and it doesn't do a whole lot. He has blood mark on my caster, so he could transfer damage to me anytime he wants, and he chooses not to the one time that I put damage into him, and that's probably a smart move. It forces me, whenever I finally do try to do this assassination, that I'm going to have to find some place where I'm out of his command or his control, which means I'm going to be about 16 inches away from him. Here I'm adding up the chance. I've already committed myself deeply to this strategy of a double Hellmouth assassination attempt, so I kind of have to do it. So I'm going to use the stones to teleport the tree, the Wurmwood, over to what's maybe a safe spot. It would be a safe spot if I had killed the southern bug, or if I had engaged the southern bug with enough stuff that he could not shoot. But I chose not to do that either, because I'm not thinking very good in this game. But here we go. I boost to hit this one little bug, and I didn't need to because Megalith's undergrowth was right there, and I needed a 5 to hit him. If I hadn't boosted the hit, I would have had one transfer available to me, which would have let me made me a lot safer, because he's only really got one bug that can get a shot off at me. There's the Hellmouth, does a little bit of damage, hits Rasheth. Rasheth does not transfer it. So now I'm going to do another Hellmouth, and it misses. I need a 5 and I roll a 3. That would have gotten the Stalker within reach range of Rasheth if I had done that. And Cassius would have set up there with 2 transfers, and the Stalker would have gone in and tried to kill him. And he only has 2 transfers himself, so he probably would have been dead. However, it misses. So now I'm going to try to do whatever I can to save my caster on no transfers. I had to spend 2 to do my shift, my unseen path. And that's probably the game for me.
Skorne turn 4. Phew, that was close. I talked about having Tiberius to stop Rasheth from getting pulled in, and then I abandoned Rasheth and sent Tiberius in. It almost cost me the game right there. I now had to figure out how I was going to make sure that this was the last turn, because I don't think I could live through another one. Clearly, my opponent had a little bit of unluckiness, which happens, but it forced him to be on 0 transfers. He tried to run away from me and get out of my range, but I don't think he could completely get out. My goal is to clean up an option for Tiberius to get to his 2 heavies as a backup plan, and then enable my Aradus Sentinels to go and try and kill him. Well, if I can land 1 shot on the number of boxes he's on, and the fact that he's got no transfers, I should be fine, even a deviated shot. I just need to make sure that I don't, I play clean and get it right. So Rasheth goes first. He goes so he can in range, so he can cast Snipe on the Sentinel, and then I use Thunder Spirit to clean out the one mob blocking Tiberius from his heavies. Next, I check the Aradus Sentinel's line of sight to make sure that he can do the Arcing Fire, see his caster without having to move, so I can aim. Then check my range of 14 and just go to town. Skorne victory.
Well, as predicted, I got bug pasted. I played a very poor game, in my opinion. I had the plan on the last turn, and then I just completely abandoned it in favor of an assassination. It wasn't a long shot assassination, but it wasn't a sure thing assassination. Whereas if I had controlled the board, killed one of the bugs, which wouldn't have been hard to do at all, and Strangleheld and Curse of Shadow first with a boosted hit roll from Cassius, and then Stranglehold him, which was almost a sure thing, boosted damage. He wouldn't have been able to affect the game with Tiberion much. He would have had 1 guy to shoot at me with, but I would have been sitting on 4 or 5 transfers, and that was just a poor choice of mine. I guess it shows you that sometimes it's best to just stick with your original plan. See you guys next time.